Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself, I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome in, everybody. Happy Wednesday to you. The first half of the first four in the books.
That was great last night.
BYU knows who they're facing.
That was a good ball.
You're talking about Prairie View A&M, right?
Wait a minute. I said it was a good ball. There was dramatic ball.
There was basketball last night.
Yes, there was.
That's a good point.
It wasn't the best.
The Texas Longhorns are, of course, now going to be facing the BYU Cougars in the first game of the first round. Now that the first four is over, doesn't it scare you to death a little bit? I think the JT bringing it up yesterday was, oh, yeah, but you know what? These teams, when they get a couple games under their belt or they get a game under their belt and they're kind of already, you know, they played in Dayton. They're flying out to Portland to take on BYU in that first 11-6 matchup. It does scare you a little bit to think they've already played a little bit. They already have that vibe of what it feels like to be playing in March and to be playing in the tournament. And You've done the thing where you've covered the Dayton games and then had to immediately turn around and go play.
I have done that.
That could be a massive disadvantage for some teams. Yeah. Some teams wake up and they like the feeling of, I'm playing some basketball, 2 days after just winning one in at the last second in Dayton. So congrats to the Longhorns. They'll be taking on BYU in Portland. So there you go.
Yeah, there's a history of teams that have been in the first four. Fairleigh Dickinson was that 16 seed. They had to win a 16 versus 16 game in the first four before they went on that crazy run, right? They beat a number one seed in the first round. I believe it was Purdue, right?
It's quite a bit of Dickinson. There's a
reason why I'm bringing that up.
I know. Has he already connected on the
But there are a number of teams that have advanced from the first four, and if you're a BYU fan, you hope this year isn't one of those years. Yeah. Because Texas kind of feels like that team.
Why not? They got a lot of talent.
And you know what's funny is if you look around and you read some of the stuff out there, a lot of people, a lot of experts, a lot of bracketologists think that Texas can pull off that upset over BYU. Yeah. Now, we followed BYU all year long. Anything's possible. BYU could go out there and beat them by 20 or they lose by 20. I have no idea what they're going to show up. Does the BYU team that lost to UCF show up, or the BYU team that beat Iowa State? I don't know.
Well, the good news is this: Texas is a great brand to beat if you get them.
Sure.
And you beat them, and you go moving on.
So according to KenPom.com, Ken Pomeroy, Texas actually upset NC State last night. Texas is number 37 in the Ken Pom rankings. BYU's 23. So you see, there's a significant gap there between.
Is
BYU
that significant?
And Texas.
Is that significant? Like,
I don't know, as far as like
a 15 step, drop between Ken Pom ratings.
It's a typical 6 versus 11 seed gap. But I think a lot of 6 seeds are playing teams that are farther down. So like North Carolina is 30th. They're a 6 seed. They're taking on VCU, who's 46. That's a 16 slot gap.
So we put up our predictions. If you saw on our KSL Sports Instagram reels that we put up,
yeah.
Everybody else sounds smart. I was just like this. I like Penn because they're a Ivy League school. They could upset a Illinois team.
They back cut a lot.
But here's the thing about Illinois too. Illinois is the only one that's not mentioned on there. Like everyone's all, yeah, their guard is missing because he sold a bunch of weed or had a bunch of weed on him. Well, yeah, Alabama. This guy's got a big injury that they're dealing with. I'm like, I think that the color orange isn't as good as the colors blue and red. That's what I came across.
And you're gonna win.
I like turtles. That's what I came across with my response.
Genius.
Everybody, but there's no rhyme or reason to upsets in March. We never know how this is going to go.
I mentioned Fairleigh Dickinson beating Purdue.
I always love
the number 1 seed.
Is it quite a bit of Dickinson? No, it's Fairleigh Dickinson.
Fairleigh Dickinson.
Yeah. They might show up in this tournament because they're
Fairleigh to Midland.
Fairleigh Dickinson. We'll see. Let me see. We got lots to get through on this program. Mike Folta, radio play-by-play voice of the Utah Mammoth, going to be joining us here shortly. So let's kick off the program here because I do think that Mike is also one of those guys that we can sneak in quite a bit of NCAA tournament conversation, especially.
He's from Indiana. This guy wants to talk hoops, trust me.
And he definitely wants to talk about just a little mini run this Purdue Boilermakers team made to be able to win this Big Ten Conference championship. Good for them. They're a 2 seed rolling into this thing. No, but I didn't pick Purdue to get upset in this first round. I don't know a lot of people who did. So let's kick things off here officially. Let's get things going with the cut. Top of the program. Let's do it.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, so as we get things kicked off here, like I said, BYU is going to be facing off on Thursday against the Texas team there in Portland, and the bracket gets kicked off there. Utah State, of course, a 9 seed taking on Villanova as an 8 seed. That feels like it just is. Again, a big brand. If Utah State could get that win, how good would that feel to beat a semi-recent national champion? You know, in order to be able to see Villanova next to Utah State, that's something that you love to see. So BYU versus Texas, that's a good brand matchup, I think, too, that people want to see. Matching up against a middle of the country MAC team that might be pretty decent, or a MEAC team, or a Missouri Valley team, doesn't get as much traction as if you're playing the Burnt Orange there. And if you get a win against them, even better. And
Absolutely.
So I don't know what the early on here. I don't know what the. Not that I care about the spread, but what is that? Is BYU going to be a favorite in this one by a few points, a couple of points? I'm not sure where that actually.
BYU is a 2.5-point favorite over Texas.
That doesn't feel comfortable, does it?
No, it does not. That's almost a pick 'em.
Because neutral site.
Yeah.
You tend to be, and if you're the
BYU's going to have the crowd. BYU,
yes.
It'll feel like a home court advantage for BYU.
Yeah, I think so too. So, but Texas coming in, I think that's a good one. I think that's a good matchup. I think you're going to be able to see a battle back and forth. Oh, remember when it was it them against Ole Miss a few years ago?
In the first four.
When they were up 17,
it was the
20.
Year, it was the year after.
The Iona
they
game.
pulled off the Iona.
And then they
turned around and they got the.
It was Ole Miss though, right?
Yes, it was.
Gosh. Isn't it funny how your brain remembers? It's like
there.
It's like remembering embarrassing moments that you say things when you're like in third grade. I don't remember most things, but I'll remember that really awkward thing I said to that teacher or that girl in third grade, and your brain will remind you like
a core memory.
Right, you'll go to bed,
yeah,
and before you go to sleep, you're like, "Good night, honey," and then suddenly that moment, because your brain goes, "Hey, you remember this?" Just because, but that Ole Miss game or the 2 losses in a row to Texas A&M or struggling against Xavier, those moments will come up for a team when they go, hey, remember that? Remember how you guys didn't show up for that game? Just helping you remember a little bit. So I don't know if it'll be anything along those lines. In the meantime, it is a Jazz basketball night. And yes, we're going to be chatting about some hockey here momentarily with Mike Folta when we get connected. But obviously, the thing that matters in this with this Mammoth team, as you start to look and going forward here, I fired up the standings today, and I was wondering where everybody stood, and I just so happened to look and say, yep, some other teams are starting to get some games under their belt. The Predators got a win. The Ducks got themselves a win. And the Oilers got themselves a win. They've now won 2 in a row. So you have the Ducks and Oilers that are 77 and 77 points, respectively. The Golden Knights have 76 points. Okay? There's your top 3 in the Pacific. The Kraken still sit at 71. They just lost again. The Kings just won 1, and they're back up to 71 points. So those are the teams that you're looking at that you're going to be having to go back and forth with when it comes to whether or not you're going to be facing those teams. Can you believe now? So the Wild, 90 points. The Stars, 94 points. And the Avalanche, 97 points. Those are the top 3 teams in this Central Division. And the Mammoth obviously have a lot of work cut out for them still, because they have 68 games that they've played. And they are now at a point where, again, I hate looking at the percentages, JJ. Doesn't it make you nervous to go, yeah, right now they sit at 76.5% to be that wild card 1 team. there's so much hockey still left to be played.
Yeah, that percentage can drop quickly if you lose 4 straight again.
Yeah, it just is nerve-wracking.
You got to be consistent in order to get that spot locked up, and that's the knock.
I don't know who is like when it comes down to it too. When they talk about getting on streaks, when they talk about being kind of getting on a roll and playing your best hockey. I don't know if we could look and say, well, the Mammoth are right there. They have this hit and miss type of thing, but they are definitely a team. When you see the goal differential, when you see what they've done in a win-loss from a win-loss standpoint over the past 10 games, they're 5-3-2, and that'll get you. Those 3 losses were just absolutely killer, and even the 2 overtime losses were things that you looked at and you went, they shouldn't have been in there in that spot. Now they have still been one of the best teams since January 1 in the entire NHL. But it takes a lot more to turn heads in the playoffs, and it takes a lot more to be able to get to the playoffs as a wild card one than it does to have to just go through and say, hey, we've got a really, really good team who can, on any given night can compete with everybody else across from on the ice. That's not necessarily the way that it goes all the time. So that's exactly what happens is everyone looks at this and says, I don't know if there's something that you look at with this team that you say, oh, no, they're not doing X, Y, and Z well. If there's something that you could knock on this team right now, what is it that you feel like would be the thing that would keep them not out of the playoffs necessarily, because I don't want to have that discussion yet. I'm saying being able to move on in the playoffs or to win a couple against a team that you don't necessarily have any business winning any games against.
Well, the word that came up this week, and it stuck out to me, is maturity. You have a lot of young players on this team still. There's some great vets on this team, don't get me wrong. But there's still a lot of young players that are learning tough lessons. Maturity, I think, is the one thing, is this team just needs to become more mature. There has to be moments where they come together and realize this is important. I know we're playing the Blackhawks again tonight, and it's tough to get up for this game, but we have to beat this team. They obviously had no trouble getting up for the Dallas Stars. They were ready to go the other night. Where was that same effort and intensity in those other games that we saw last week? You know what I mean? Like the consistency is, and it's easier said than done. It's easy for us to sit in our chairs here and ask these athletes who are grinding each and every day to be more consistent. What we're talking about is what is going to take for the Mammoth to go to another level here and to secure their spot and join the elite in the NHL, which is what they're trying to do. And that is the key. I think those are the things, maturity and consistency. They're probably in the box a little too much. I don't have the stats in front of me, but it just feels like they're taking penalties at bad times, and they've done a pretty good job with the PK. But you can't keep putting yourself in that situation where you're a man down or even 5-on-3 at times. So that's hurt them in some spots. So you got to be a little bit more disciplined on the ice as well, and with some of those penalties, you can't take as many as you've been taking because you're giving the other teams too many opportunities, and it certainly hurt them. But if overall you're looking at where this team is at, 76 points, they're in that number 1 wild card spot. They control their own destiny. They're in a great spot. I would rather be in that number 1 wild card spot than in the number 3 central spot. I'm not joking, because if you're the Wild, you're either playing the Avalanche or the Stars in the first round. That's brutal.
It is.
I would rather be the Mammoth, where you're the number 1 wild card, and yes, you're not going to have home ice. Who cares? It doesn't matter. You're going to be playing a first-round playoff series against the Ducks, and then you get the winner of the Oilers and Knights in the next round. I'd rather do that than get the Stars or Avalanche in the second round. On the ESPN broadcast the other night, they were bringing that up, and the analyst was saying, like, if I'm looking for a dark horse in the West, it's the Mammoth, because if they're in that number 1 wild card spot with as good as that team is, there's a path for them to go on a long run in the playoffs, not just win a series, but to possibly get to the Western Conference Final, because if your matchup is Anaheim Ducks and then Vegas Golden Knights or Edmonton Oilers, they certainly have a better chance. I don't think they match up well with the Oilers. I don't think they've had a lot of success against the Oilers, but they've certainly matched up well with the Knights and the Ducks.
I don't know how much playoff experience is on this roster. I mean, Nate Schmidt played on that Florida.
Ian Cole. Yeah, Stenlund was with the
Stenlund was with the Panthers as well. Vanacek was one of the backup goalies for the Panthers as well, and so
even Nick Schmaltz played one playoff series when he was with
we talked
Blackhawks
to them about
when
that.
he was a rookie.
But again, that was
10 years ago.
10 plus years ago. Yeah, and so I look at it and go, the idea of what guys that you get on your roster mixed with the young guys, because Nate Schmidt, Vitek Vanacek, Kevin Stenlund, guess what? Those guys are not the premier dudes on your team. Now, by the way, Vanacek has had an insane run. I thought he's been so clutch, and I think talking about, getting a guy into games that knows pressure, that's why it's important to have guys like him. Nate Schmidt came in as a bona fide veteran when he came in, but what was the big thing that Bill Armstrong came on with us, I think, right before Schmidt came on, and then we got Schmidt the first day that he signed. It was like, look, I've won a cup before, and that's great. I love being able to get in here with a bunch of guys who are just raw and ready to go and have tremendous talent. And he's been a great add. Speaking of guys who had goals the other night against Dallas, Vanacek's been solid. Stenlund is one of those solid dudes who comes in and wins almost every other face-off that he sits down on the ice with. And those are guys that aren't your number one dudes. Those aren't names that you name off of the top. But I guarantee when you're in that locker room and there's a vibe that you have to search for, those are guys who already know what that feeling is like to be at that winning spot. These guys are in new territory. This franchise is in brand new territory. So many of these guys, brand new contracts that have been extended. The money is new for them. At least at this level, the money is new for them. They feel like they've been absolutely like babysat by, not babysat, that's the wrong way to put it, but like totally given everything that is in their power that the Smiths can give them and that the franchise can give them. And they said, just do your thing and win this thing. I'm interested to see what this type of like iron sharpening iron does for them over this next 13, 14 games, because it's going to be huge to see what these guys can do and who they become, because if they're the wild card one team, they will likely be favored against whomever that they face in the Pacific Division, because right now that's what the pre-odds that are kind of coming out. There's not one of those teams in the Pacific that they would be facing off against that they wouldn't be favored against in that first round, which is crazy to think of.
Right.
And yet it's because of who they play in the regular season, what they do the rest of the way. I think that they are set up right now over the next little while. That Dallas win was so huge, but of course they're going to be preaching, and Bear Torney is going to be joining us in about an hour. And Coach, I'm interested to see what Coach says about what it's going to be like to be playoff ready, because for so many of these guys, they have no idea what that feeling is actually like.
Andre Toruigny, that's going to be foreign to him. His first head coaching job, he's been part of a rebuild in Arizona.
Yeah.
He hasn't had to coach Stanley Cup playoff games. I'm sure he's been on other staffs.
He's been on staffs. He's been on benches, but you're not the guy.
Playing, all the stuff he's done up in Canada with junior hockey and all that other stuff. He's played and coached big games, but the Stanley Cup playoffs is going to be different. It's going to be new and exciting, not only for the players and coaches on this roster, for some of them, not all of them, but for the fans here in Utah. And so there's going to be a lot of experiencing that together, which is going to be great. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to be a part of this, because we've always watched the Stanley Cup playoffs from afar, as far as in this job we're in, where you're not in the daily of it. And this is fun. The Utah Mammoth are fun. The NHL is fun. This playoff race is great. It's tight. It's tight in the West. It's tight in the East. It's fun. It's going to be a dogfight all the way to the end. And the Mammoth have got to hold strong to the place they're in right now, because if they can keep that number one wild card spot, I think it's going to allow them to make a nice run here in the postseason, which would be incredible for this community to be a part of the Stanley Cups, period. But to have the team go win one, maybe two playoff series would be insane.
I wonder, too, if there's going to be a moment that these guys turn a corner. You don't have to go on a crazy win streak, but you do out of these next 14, 15 games. I think they have 15 left. Out of these 15 games that they have left in front of them, it's 14. They've probably got to win 10 of them to feel okay about being in that wild card one spot. Winning 10 games out of the next 14 is still a tall ask, considering that all the people that are going to be playing going along in the next month or so are going to be teams that are probably in the same spot as them. Well, in a worse spot. They're actually fighting for their lives even more so. Or in the case of some of these teams that have already clinched spots or are likely going to be, they're trying to make sure that they play the best hockey that they can to get ready, because somebody's going to have to beat Colorado. Somebody's going to have to go and beat Dallas. And everybody's going to look at those guys and go, this is the top of the West. And if you're the top of the West, you're likely actually top of the entire league. And all these teams are going to try to figure out a way to beat them. And so they know that every hockey game they play gets them better and sized up for that situation.
Last year, the number one wild card spot was the Minnesota Wild. They got 97 points.
That's a lot.
So that's kind of where they need to get to in this last final stretch. So that gives you a bit of a guide on what they need to do, how much they need to win in order to get there. And as things change season to season, but also in the East, the Ottawa Senators were the number one wild card last year. They also had 97 points. So I would target 97 points as that place where they need to get to.
That's what 10 wins is, right?
That's
77
20 points right
20
there.
points right there. That's where it would be.
So you're dead on with that assessment.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. When we return, we got more to go here. Hey, do want to mention also, if you go to KSLSports.com and you check out our Bracket Mayhem Challenge, it's on there. You can win $1,000. That's right. You can win $1,000 if you have the best local bracket as you put it together right there online, or you can fill it out, and if you beat DJ, then you're entered to win $500 if you can beat DJ's bracket that he puts together. All sorts of fun you can have right there. Plus, if you get a perfect one, good luck. You can get yourself $1 million as well. Who's putting up the $1 million for that? Is it UVU because they didn't have to use it? Is that how that works, JJ? They didn't have to use the $1 million down at UVU, so they're pitching in the $1 million.
I think that's exactly what's going to happen, so we thank them for that.
Where's Nate at? I want to know where this $1 million came from. I think statistically,
this is one of those things
we could say a cajillion.
This is where that idiot says, I'll give you $1 million if you can make that half-court shot.
I know.
And then they make it, and they're like, I was kidding.
I know.
That was a joke.
I think he stepped over the line.
So when you pick that perfect bracket, we'll have one of us on staff call you and say, hey, sorry about that. It was just a joke. That was a misunderstanding.
But didn't they do the whole thing?
We don't owe you $1 million.
Berkshire Hathaway, like, what's his name? Who's the dude? Who's the Berkshire Hathaway guy? The rich guy. Warren Buffett.
Okay, yes,
Warren
yes,
Buffett.
yes.
They always put up like we'll give you $3 billion if you get a perfect bracket because the odds are pretty low,
Yeah.
It's like you have to be struck 15 times by lightning while winning the Powerball 4 times in a row. Some crazy thing like
They're
that.
doing $1 million for whoever makes it to the round of 16 with the perfect bracket.
Here, us.
Berkshire Hathaway.
Berkshire Hathaway is the million if they get to 16. So even at least those odds are
That's
better.
how confident they are that you can't even do that.
I was going to say, these are guys that are ready to take your money, so don't believe them.
People are like casinos in Vegas. They're not going to try to give you any money.
But all of this powered by Omada Real Estate. Buying or selling a home, visit OmadaRealEstate.com. What we do know is we are giving away $1,000 for the best local bracket. We are giving away $500 for somebody who's entered to win after they beat David James's bracket. We will come back. We got more around the corner. Let's continue to chat a little bit more of this college basketball as we get you ready for the NCAA tournament. BYU's facing off against the Texas Longhorns. We're going to chat with Eric Henry, covers Texas athletics for Horns 24/7. We will chat with him next, see what BYU is going to be facing in this Longhorns team in Portland come Thursday. Stay here, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen,
The biggest name. You're locked into JJ and Alex. With the insight and analysis on the teams you can't live without. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The whistle, the ball will go. He runs left, sets up like a QB. Holloman's helped with a screen. Cocks the ball back, throws it over half. Williams catches. His shot is blocked. It's over. Texas wins it. Swain blocks it. He got another block, and the Longhorns survive in Dayton. Sean Miller has done it again. Texas wins it 68-66.
Welcome back, everybody. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Want to remind you that the KSL Sports Zone and Beehive Meals Hero of the Week honors people who impact the youth sports in their communities. All you have to do is nominate a youth sports volunteer for the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week at KSLSports.com/contest. Listen, every Thursday, we read those winners off. We'll do it tomorrow. And, of course, they get the winner also gets $250 to Beehive Meals. So there you go. Joining us on the program right now, Eric Henry covers the Texas Longhorns for Horns 24/7. Thanks for being with us, Eric. That was quite an exciting game last night. That's what you want your first fours.
Yeah, it certainly was an exciting game. Appreciate you guys having me on. And again, I apologize for any noise in the background. I'm trying to find baggage claim here in Portland Airport.
Geez, good luck to you, man.
Oh,
dang.
The Dayton to Portland turnaround. Yeah, we were just talking about
it's tough.
We were just talking about with those first 4 teams, you get a mixed bag of people who might be absolutely wasted, or at the same time they go, no, I like all the basketball stacking up here. Does Sean Miller's group, do you think they do better with the win and then the quick turnaround, or do you think it's something that affects teams negatively to just kind of be living off of fumes and playing basketball?
this is going to come up drier than I mean it. I think they play better when they play defense because that's been very rare for them this year. But that aside to the question you asked, this time of year, I think this team needs to ride the momentum of last night. And I almost paused for a second because I was like, wait, was that last night? But yeah, I think they need to ride the momentum of last night. I'll give you an example, guys. They beat Texas A&M. It was the second to last game of the regular season. Again, the weeks all run together here. But they had built up some momentum. At that stretch, they had won 4 of 6 games. And you're thinking, okay, this is a Texas team that finally feels like they're finding their rhythm, putting together kind of some semblance of offensive identity while also learning how to play defense with each other. And you think, okay, this team, maybe they can go to Arkansas and knock off a top 20 Arkansas team. They should be able to take care of a subpar Oklahoma team who they'd beaten on the road earlier in the season, should be able to take care of them on senior night. What happens? They dropped both of those games, okay? Then, and that was with a bit of an extended break, about 3 days in between games. So then you say, okay, you're going to wash that off. You're going to have a couple days off. You're going to go to the SEC tournament, turn it around, beat up on an Ole Miss team that you had beaten earlier in the season and, quite frankly, wasn't that good. Well, 2 things can be true. 1, the time off hurt them. 2, maybe Ole Miss was a little bit better than we realized that we saw in the SEC tournament. So that's my way of saying I think they need to ride the momentum of yesterday because, quite frankly, when they've had extended stretches, it just hasn't really translated to better basketball.
19-14 in Sean Miller's first season. Has this team underachieved, or is this what was expected this season?
You know what? Okay. I think the only reason you can really put this year, quote unquote, as an underachievement is just, again, and I know I made the joke about defense to open the segment, they've been bad. And when I mean bad, Sean Miller has said, and I quote, "We will foul the bleep out of you." I can't use that word on air. They've just been bad. So I think in that sense, they've underachieved. Now, with that being said, and I don't want to go, make this to a deeper discussion about kind of Texas basketball program history, my biggest gripe, and this hasn't made me, the biggest fan of the Texas athletic department, or they're made, they haven't been fans of me, is they don't spend money on basketball, right? And the fact of the matter is, sure, if you want to compete, you can't just say, hey, we're going to go get a really good coach and expect them to coach up all the players and somehow eke out wins, because, quite frankly, guys, they don't apply that same principle on the football field. Steve Sarkisian is going to spend about $50 million on his football roster this year, right? So if I'm applying that across sports, then to be honest with you, I think Sean Miller's overachieved with the roster he's been able to put together this year.
Interesting.
As you watch the Longhorns get themselves ready, obviously a moment like that's the kind of stuff that actually kind of builds that character to be able to get you that next opponent. BYU is that next opponent. Of course, we cover BYU extensively here in the state of Utah, but we've been also pretty – this is also new territory for a lot of folks who cover BYU, and certainly for BYU fans down in Provo. They have a roster that is built up of a lot of money. Obviously, it goes without saying that A.J. DeMonta is the type of player that he is. So far, in what you've seen out of this BYU team, what is going to be something that Texas is going to have to absolutely look at and go, my goodness, this is something we haven't seen this year yet?
I know BYU's had some injuries, and that's certainly going to play a factor, especially at the guards. Texas has really struggled to defend really good guards, especially guards who can shoot the ball. However, in addition to that, Texas has not fared well against star players, whether it's Darius Acuff Jr. And I'm not even talking about stars at the level of A.J. DeMonta or Darius Acuff. You can go just through the SEC when it comes to guys like Josh Hubbard of Mississippi State. The list goes on. Texas has really struggled whenever there is a team. And again, I guess I should just kind of, say Texas struggled at defense, but especially when there is a team that has a go-to guy, a go-to scorer, Texas really has not had an answer. I think the reason for that, guys, is because Dalen Swain, who is Texas's best player on both sides of the ball, he's having to extend himself offensively, so he doesn't really have much to offer defensively. And then you have a lot of guys who just, quite frankly, aren't good defensive players. So, yeah, whenever Texas has faced a star, it's really been doomsday for the Longhorns.
You mentioned Dalen Swain. He's obviously their star, and he leads them in so many categories. How important is it to have somebody like Tremont Mark step up like he did last night? Is he going to be key in this game against BYU? Who are some of those other guys on Texas, their roster, that need to step up in order for the Longhorns to upset BYU?
No, it's going to be huge. I mean, here's the thing. With Dalen Swain, for those, your audience who may not be familiar with him, and again, I apologize for this announcement in the background, but Dalen was a guy who, when he played at Xavier last year, he was the number 3 option, right?
Yeah.
And when he came to Texas, he wasn't supposed to be the number 1 option. Ryan Conwell was actually supposed to join him at Texas. That didn't end up working out because of the aforementioned issues I talked about with Texas finding the NIL to fund the basketball team. So Dalen stepping up and kind of growing in that number 1 role offensively, it's been new to him. I mention that as to say there's still times, guys, where he struggles to get his shots off. And he'll go, Dalen Swain's a guy you look up, he always fills the stat sheet, and those are real numbers. Those are not empty numbers. But there are times where it looks up and it's like, man, it's the second half, and Dalen only has 5 shot attempts, right? So to your question, yes, Tremont Mark, someone who's not scared to shoot. Jordan Pope, someone who's not scared to shoot. Those guys need to be able to reach double figures tomorrow.
As you watch these teams, they go through this whole deal. They go through a year of trying to figure out. A new coach has to figure out and kind of feel out the program, and players have to feel out their new coach. You've got a Sean Miller team that is, made the tournament, and that's great. When you look at it, too, is this a team that, as they played throughout the year, you talked about some of those weaknesses. What are some of the things that they could just suddenly fire up and surprise anybody who they face off across in a gym on any given night could be?
The one thing that Texas has done well consistently throughout the year, this is kind of, in a way, a throwback basketball team. They're not going to, they have guys who are capable of making threes, Tremont Mark, Jordan Pope, and others, but they're not going to live and die by the 3. Tremont Mark is a mid-range player. Jordan Pope is a mid-range player. Modest Vokatitis, who I haven't mentioned, the Florida Atlantic transfer down low at center. They get to the line a ton. You can bet that Texas, throughout the year, they've either been, top 5, top 6, top 7 in the nation in free throw attempts per game. And a lot of that does result because of either A, Tremont Mark's ability in the mid-range, or B, Modest Vokatitis down low. You can guarantee you, especially when, this team doesn't suffer a ton of extended, stretches where they aren't scoring points. The reason for that is they can always pound it down low and get to the line, right? They don't give up a ton of runs, but they also don't go on a ton of runs because they're just not kind of that explosive offense in that sense. And in a way, that's really been a good thing for them because it's kind of steadied them when the defense has been subpar.
Well, we appreciate you joining us here, Eric, on short notice, and also doing it while you're doing the traveling thing. This interview feels like this game is going to feel tomorrow. Texas, fresh off the airplane, getting in here and just kind of going, all right, what are we going?
Trying to find their bags.
What are we doing here? Sorry about that noise in the background. It's no big deal. It's just our fan base. No problem. Eric Henry, he covers Texas athletics for Horns 24/7. We appreciate it. Safe travels out there, and we'll catch up with you again.
Thank you, Eric.
Anytime. Appreciate it, guys.
There you go. I just love the frantic feel of this time of year, right?
This is so March.
You
and
could
I've been
vibe
in
with
shoes.
that guy. Yeah.
I went to the first 4 when BYU went both years, and BYU won that first. Remember, they beat Iona, that crazy comeback. All of a sudden, I got to get to Louisville, and I didn't have a ticket home. So we had to figure out what the next step was. It's like, okay, well, we're going to Louisville.
Yeah, you know what? The Louisville, I feel like you could make that drive.
We did.
I was going to say, I feel like that could have been a John Candy in
it's exactly what it was.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, or getting in the back of the truck in
you end
Home
up between
Alone.
2 pillows.
Yes.
Yes, kind of one of those situations.
Bust out the clarinet, start playing.
I did get a grilled cheese donut in Cincinnati on the way.
Oh, you know what?
That was nice.
I think you win then.
That made the trip.
We were in Minneapolis for something one time. Oh, it was on one of our RV trips, and we did the Juicy Lucy.
Oh, I did it at the Super Bowl. So good.
Worth every penny.
Yes.
Worth every calorie.
Best burger in Minneapolis.
Why not? Let me see here. Let's take a break. We'll come back. Before we do, the KSL Sports Zone is going to be at Kenny J's all day tomorrow. On Thursday, you can get this deal. How about this? A 10% off your meal when you come in to watch some NCAA basketball. You come in and go, hey, I want to see some tournament action. Boom, right there at Kenny J's. We're going to be all there. We're going to be there all day on Thursday. That's tomorrow. Just go to the Kenny J's right there in South Jordan, right next to the Megaplex Theater. It's phenomenal. If you've never been, we've been many, 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 many times, and Kenny J and his team have got you covered when it comes to authentic Central Texas barbecue. Let's get this thing going. 10% off of your meal when you come in to watch NCAA basketball during the tournament at Kenny J's. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. More to go around the corner. Stay here, 97.5 VKSL Sports Zone.
Listen, everybody.
Real-life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
Apologies if you already won some tickets to the Jazz versus 76ers game during our win ticket or during our Jazz ticket Tuesday yesterday. Win ticket Wednesday steps it up even further. How about this? Your win ticket Wednesday, you're going to be able to get a pair of lower bowl tickets to see the Jazz and the 76ers coming up on March 21st. That's this coming Saturday. At Delta Center, 7 o'clock, lower bowl seats available for you on a Win Ticket Wednesday. All you have to do is be calling number 12 right now. 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-9663. And you get yourself those tickets. Also want to remind you, tomorrow, JJ and I are going to be on the road at the RV Super Spring Show going on at Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy. Tickets at UtahRVSupershow.com. That's the website, UtahRVSupershow.com. And so we'll see you there all tomorrow at the Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy for the Utah RV Spring Show. All right, JJ, how many? I mean, we've been all over the. It's our second RV show in the last 3 months here.
Can't do it enough.
I'll have every bit of it. Thank you very much. Go there, check it out for yourself. Why not? All right. I wanted to chat a little bit of Utah Jazz right now, so we're going to be able to chat with Mike Folta, radio play-by-play voice of the Mammoth, coming up at the 4 o'clock hour, and then also Bear Toruigny, the head coach of the Mammoth, also going to join us for his weekly hit, but doing it a couple days early because the Mammoth, checks notes, have a couple of games tomorrow and Friday. So
they're busy.
A couple back-to-backs, or a couple of games there back-to-back on a Thursday and a Friday. They're going to need both of them. We're going to see what coach is doing to get ready for those. This Jazz team, I don't know what Ace Bailey's current status is. I think that the injury report speaks for itself. You're going to see a lot of young guys, and I think you're going to see a lot of experience getting built up over the next little while. But at the same time, like obviously Minnesota is a team that needs to they stack wins. They've got to get themselves in a spot where this is a bona fide playoff team.
The Jazz aren't winning this game, even though Anthony Edwards is out.
Ant is out. No matter. The T-Wolves are at home hosting the Jazz, so you're going to get a 5 o'clock pregame and a 6 o'clock tip-off here. But the Jazz need to get a lot going on in the next few games, and that is just getting your dudes. Obviously, it's all about the development. It's all about where your young guys are. It's all about getting guys minutes who you didn't necessarily think were going to be getting minutes. So in a game like this tonight, when they go to Minnesota, JJ, what do you expect out of this Jazz team, who's going to have a very thin roster?
Yeah,
Ace is going to be back.
So now you mentioned Ace Bailey. I expect Ace Bailey to get back and continue to play well like he was before. But there's not a lot to expect from this group right now. There's just not a lot of bodies out there. I'd have to go into the specifics of what some of these two-way guys are, who's there, who's with the G League. There's not much to expect. I mean, it's kind of the reality of the situation right now with the Utah Jazz is there's not a lot of guys available. They're not going to win games. They're not trying to win games from an organizational standpoint. That's not the case on the court. I think that Will Hardy and the players on that roster are playing their guts out. I really believe that, and there's plenty of evidence to back that up over the last couple of weeks. They beat the Wizards. They won a game that they shouldn't have after that, and they were very competitive in a lot of these games since. So the team is playing hard. They're certainly entertaining, and they've been playing in some entertaining games. The game in Sacramento. Well, I know you're thinking like the Kings and the Jazz, it's a tankathon. But it was a really entertaining basketball game. It was competitive down to the very end. I enjoyed the last few minutes of it. So that's what you're getting out of the Jazz right now. But outside of that, there's not much to analyze, to be quite honest with you. Outside of watching these young guys who you think are going to be a part of this team moving forward, like Cody Williams, who, if you're watching the Kings game, great. He was awesome. Can he continue that? What does he do after scoring 34 points in a game? So that's something I'd be looking for tonight. How does Cody Williams respond after having a big game like that? How is his consistency as a pro developing?
So the Lakers right now are in the third spot in the West in the playoff races. And it's because that third, fourth, fifth, and sixth spots are separated by a game and a half.
Wow.
So, and currently the Rockets, Nuggets, and Timberwolves are all 1.5 games back of the Lakers. Technically, there's off of just a win-loss standpoint. From a win percentage standpoint, the Nuggets and Timberwolves exactly the same record. The Rockets the Rockets, Nuggets, and T-Wolves are all 1.5 games behind the Lakers.
You're starting to see tiers in the West form.
Yes, I mean, and the Spurs have hit a different level.
Spurs and Thunder in their own tier.
The Thunder have been their own level. And by the way, we all feel like that the Spurs right now maybe are the best team in the entire West because the Thunder are pretty darn good. But the Spurs are finding some gear that we didn't expect them to find this early, but here they are. They have the talent to certainly be able to do it. But the Lakers, Rockets, Nuggets, Timberwolves, all separated by a game and a half. And so the T-Wolves want to make sure and put themselves up as far as they can in the standings here. Try to make a matchup that they want in the playoffs. And we'll see how that goes tonight. 5 o'clock is going to be your pregame. You get it right here on the KSL Sports Zone. And at 6 o'clock tip-off, we will take a break. We'll come back. Hey, Mike Folta, radio play-by-play voice of the Mammoth, going to join us next. Cross your fingers. More to go. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, everybody. JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us on the program. Thanks for hanging out. We've got a shortened show thanks to Utah Jazz basketball coming up at 5 o'clock with your pregame. Taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves there in Minneapolis, St. Paul. So you've got the Jazz and Timberwolves. Ace Bailey available again, which is good. See the young kid back. We'll see what he follows up there. Don't want to be outshot by Ace doesn't want to be outshot by Cody Williams. There he goes. That was nice. You had that 34-point night. Nice. I'm back, though. I got to score some points myself.
I think a little in-house competition is good.
Absolutely.
It's healthy.
A couple of young guys trying to get their game better. This is a good way to do it. Minnesota wants to win games. That's also very, very good. And there we are. All right, let's kick off the program as we always do with the cut. Top of the program, let's jump right in with our radio play-by-play voice of the Utah Mammoth. He is Mike Folta. Let's jump in right now.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Mike Folta's appearance brought to you by the good folks at Hercules First Federal Credit Union, growing stronger together. Hercules First Federal Credit Union. Mike, what's going on, man? Everything good in your world?
Gentlemen, I'm not going to lie to you. We are in Las Vegas right now.
Yeah, baby.
And I apologize for missing you guys earlier. I'll leave that explanation up to your imagination.
Okay.
But we are in Vegas. Got a big one against the Golden Knights tomorrow. A couple days removed from a big win against the Dallas Stars. And guys, we were supposed to come home. We were supposed to come home after that Dallas win, get a little R&R back in Salt Lake City. Had some travel issues, and we packed for a one-night trip to Dallas. We are currently in day 4 of an extended trip, so we've had to strike out and buy some fresh garments here in Vegas. We're on the road a little longer than we thought we were going to be.
Well, I'm glad you did that and didn't wash your underwear in a Keurig in your hotel room. So good choice there.
Boo.
Apparently that's a trend on TikTok.
No, it is. Yeah, it's not a. Just do what Charles Barkley did, Folta. Just do the. Just wear it wear your full gear into the shower and just wash yourself that way. It's a 2-for-1. It's a 2-for-1 on that one. Yes, let's talk a little bit about that Dallas game though. On this week, it was quite a turnaround from the effort I think that we'd seen in some of these other games. I know that they were getting close, but the 4-game losing streak was daunting. And then to go down to Dallas against one of the best teams in the entire league, that seemed even more of a tall task. But this team arrived for it, and guys were scoring that we don't necessarily see on the sheet all the time. Mike, I loved these guys showing up and getting that big win 6-3 in Dallas.
It wasn't It wasn't the sexiest game of the year, but when you just look at it on paper and consider who it's against, it's one of the biggest games of the year because it snaps that 4-game losing streak that you mentioned, Alex. It also snapped what was a 15-game point streak for the Stars. Nobody had beaten Dallas in regulation since like the third week of January, and the Mammoths were able to pull away in the third. And you mentioned guys who haven't been scoring as much. Kyler Yamamoto gets his first goal in 13 games. Jack McBain drops the gloves and then scores his first goal in 21 games. Nate Schmidt with his first goal in 19 games. So you had a bunch of guys score who, as you said, hadn't been scoring a ton recently, and it was a full team effort on the 6-3 win over Dallas, a team that even though they're in a really good spot right now towards the top of the league, they are desperately trying to catch the Colorado Avalanche at the top of the Central Division. That is a much more favorable place to be in the standings than where Dallas currently is, and could potentially have to face a revamped Minnesota team in that first-round series.
Huge win, not only for the confidence it builds for this team, but when you look at the playoff picture, Mike, that wild card lead was starting to melt, and it was getting a little concerning. And you go to 5 straight losses, and all of a sudden things are looking a lot different. But how does the picture look now? How big of a win was that? How did it impact the playoff picture?
Yeah, it was huge. And now you maintain a little bit of that cushion. There's still a long way to go, guys, right? I mean, I think everybody knows that. We still have a month left in the regular season, but you now have a 5-point cushion on the next closest team, Seattle. They're in the second wild card spot. LA is close behind them. But you pick up a win, you stop the losing streak, and it's also in the middle of a really tough stretch where you're playing 6 straight games against teams that are in playoff spots as we speak. And guys, we've talked about it, I think, for the last couple of weeks now, the importance of hanging on to that first wild card spot compared to the second wild card spot. If you want to win a round in the playoffs, you really have to be in that first wild card spot, because then you avoid the deadly Colorado Avalanche. Whoever's in that second wild card spot is going to have to play Colorado, and then the winner of Dallas, Minnesota. Good luck. If you're in the top wild card spot, you're fighting through the Pacific Division, and the Mammoths, I think, would either be favored or close to favored. They'd be narrow. They'd be narrowly behind the other teams in the odds when you look at Anaheim, Edmonton, and Vegas.
Mike, as you see these guys kind of going along, and we've seen these guys do what playoff teams are expected to do, or possible playoff teams are expected to do, which is you got to pull out wins in major moments. And if you do get into a spot where you're kind of going through a thin kind of losing streak there, they only had a couple of points and a couple of overtime losses during that streak. But being able to wake up from that, how important is it that they don't just maintain that momentum from Dallas the other day, but also kind of start to really form themselves into a team that look like somebody who can maybe go a round or two in the Stanley Cup playoffs?
Yeah, every team wants to start peaking at this time of year, right? And this time of year, we were just hoping the Mammoths would be remotely in the race to kind of kid ourselves into saying the team was playing meaningful games, which they were down the stretch, but it was an outside shot looking in. A lot of the analytics folks have Utah at a 90% chance to make the playoffs. 3 against Dallas. Really, they kind of broke the game open. It was a lot closer than that heading into the third. But I think learning to score against teams like Dallas is part of the evolution of this Utah group. We've seen the Mammoths struggle to score against teams that allow Utah to possess the puck a lot. And what I mean by that is they allow Utah to skate around the outside, possessing the puck, but they just collapse into the middle of the ice and make it really hard to get to those dangerous areas. Teams that have done that are Boston, New Jersey, Dallas, LA, to just name a few. The teams that get out and run and play with a little bit more pace, a little bit more tempo, Utah matches pretty well against those groups. It's the teams that kind of play, service academy football that the Mammoths have struggled with over the last season. So winning that game and scoring those 6 goals and being able to break it open was a big step. And it's going to be kind of the same story here against Vegas. You play LA next week, and a couple more teams that do that as well. I love seeing this team scoring against defensive-minded groups.
The schedule looks fun, and I know it's also daunting, but it looks like a lot of fun. The next 2 games feel like playoff previews. just how important is this stretch of 6 games, Mike, and what do they need to come away with? I think we talked about that road trip that they went on where they got 3 out of 5. That was huge for them. What kind of result do they need out of these next 6?
Yeah, it's hard to put a number on it because you got Vegas and Anaheim, a back-to-back coming up. We'll be here in Vegas tomorrow night, and then we play the Anaheim Ducks at home Friday night. And both of those teams could be first-round opponents of the Utah Mammoth. So it could be a little, playoff preview depending on how things shake up. The LA Kings are in town on Sunday. The Mammoths have never beaten the LA Kings. I think
that's weird.
It is weird, and the Kings have been good, but still, you think you'd get one on them. And then the Edmonton Oilers. So there's 4 games right there against Pacific Division opponents that Utah could very well face any 4 of those teams in the postseason. So you'd like to prove your mettle against them. But as far as what you need, I'm kind of done looking at stretches of the season like that. I think at this point you're just trying to win the night. You're 5 points up from the next closest team right now. I think as long as the Mammoths play the way they're capable of, and if they play like they did against Dallas, they'll be in the running to pick up at least 50% of the points over these next few against those Pacific Division opponents.
When you watch these guys playing and getting ready with one another, Vegas obviously has its own built-in kind of, rivalry vibe, I guess, so to speak. What is it that Vegas has done so well? Speaking of teams that bring, a franchise in and they have like a quick success what does the NHL learn from teams like Vegas, and what can Utah learn from a team like Vegas in their quick, success that they've had in their short history?
Yeah, it's interesting. There's 2. Honestly, I think Utah and Vegas are in 2 very different spots, and they have been for a while because Vegas never rebuilt. Like, they came in and went to the Stanley Cup Finals in their first year back in 2018, and a lot of that was because nobody understood how to manipulate the expansion draft. Apparently, nobody except Vegas, and so they took the misfits, so to speak, from the other teams, and they threw them all together, and they turned it into a juggernaut right away. And eventually they won the Cup in 2023. But Vegas has been extremely aggressive to win in modern times at the expense of their future. I think they've drafted – like, they came into the league in 2017. I think they've selected maybe once in the first round. Like, they have just handed out first-round picks like candy to bring in players who can help them now, whereas – Bill Armstrong and the Mammoths are much more protective of the team's future assets, trying to build sustainably. And, there's validity to both sides, but with Vegas being so good right away, they didn't really care about the future. They knew they had to be a good team to draw interest in this market. They were a good team, and they've done everything they can to stay there. They don't have either of their first-round picks for the next 2 drafts. And they've got, I think 4 picks in the next 3 drafts in the top 3 rounds total. So they really have just kind of pillaged their own, asset stores, especially in the drafting department, to try and stay relevant here. They went out and got Mitch Marner in the offseason, one of the best forwards in the NHL, to pair him with Jack Eichel and Mark Stone and a really good group up front. But Vegas has been extremely aggressive, where Utah has been much more protective of its future, trying to build sustainably.
I know you're going to be busy the next couple days with the Mammoth, but I know you're going to have an eye on the NCAA tournament. You're an Indiana guy. You love March Madness. And your Purdue Boilermakers, the Big Ten tournament champions, are a number 2 seed in the same bracket as the BYU Cougars. Although the good news is this year, Mike, the Fairleigh Dickinson is not in the tournament, so Purdue's got to feel pretty good about their chances. Do you like the Boilermakers draw this year?
I do like it. I can't tell you the first thing about Missouri. Sorry, Queens. I'm looking past Queens, which I shouldn't do as a Purdue fan, but I am.
I thought you learned your lesson.
Nope. We're rolling on to. I think we're gonna take down Miami in the second round. If we get Gonzaga in the Sweet 16, which I think we will. Sorry, Cougs. I think the Boilers match up really well there. Come on, guys. Gonzaga's not losing at Portland. And I think Arizona. I think Arizona is going to be a little too much. I have Purdue losing in the Elite Eight. Guys, my Cinderella this year. You'd think that Nate Oates and the Tide, they've been very successful in the tournament. They've been almost upset-proof the last few years when I've picked against them. I'm going back to the well, and I'm taking Hofstra over Alabama, and then I'm taking Hofstra to the Sweet 16. Whoa. Speedy Claxton and Hofstra, the shoe fits. They are this year's Cinderella.
You know what? You look ahead to Texas Tech, and that's a team that's beat up if they even get by Akron. So I don't hate your pick, to be honest. And Alabama's got a lot of drama this week.
They got some problems.
A lot of drama, but that LeBaron Filan kid, he's a pretty good player. So
well,
it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard.
I do love the move you did by already pretending like Queens is out. I do love it, especially considering I think that's their last year of being called Queens, right? Isn't that kind of the? Anyway, I know that they've got like some kind of.
You know way too much about Queens.
I hate it that I do, but part of the deal is that this is how teams like Purdue might fumble the old ball away there. Hey, but you guys got yourself a tournament championship. That's something nice that you guys can put under the old belt there and playing some decent basketball. My question is.
Is that a pat on the head right there for winning a tournament?
That's nice for you guys. That's nice for you guys in the gold and black. I do wonder though too. As the tournaments kind of sort of play out here, and you've done the thing where you filled out the brackets before. Do you have is there a Mike Folta family/friend group that you guys get it going on, or are hockey people that you associate with inside of the SEG family? Are they also bracket folks? Do you have somebody who's akin to your love for the hoop?
Yeah, we've got plenty of bracketologists within our broadcast and media department at SEG. So I've fired up that bracket pool.
That's good.
So that's live. Last year I finished last place, so I'm looking to improve my standing there. It's funny. We do have like a Folta bracket pool that gets fired up each year, and it's like extended family, and so I'm losing to people that I'm related to that I've never met.
Oh, that's
but
good.
we're all picking Purdue to win the whole thing. So
that's good. Shocker.
Yeah, a lot of fun. But guys, this is what it's all about. We have meaningful hockey, meaningful NBA. You've got the Final Four. Like the Masters is right around the corner. Baseball starting up here soon. There's no football, but golly, this is one of the most fun times of the year, and it's going to be an awesome tournament. Also, I'm taking. I want to throw this in. I'm taking Cal Baptist and the Lancers over Bill Self and the Jayhawks in round one.
Whoa!
Don't hate it.
Hey, Don Daniels is he's the WAC player of the year. I don't hate it.
They got some size.
You think Mike? I was going to say. You think Mike didn't already know that? How dare you? He knew that. Okay, he knows Cal Baptist in and out at this point. Mike, we're going to get to Coach here in just about 5 minutes. What should we ask him? Has Bear filled out a bracket for you guys?
Funny enough, there's not a ton of crossover between NHL players and college basketball players. Like maybe some guys who play like in the Northeast, but I'm not sure it's on the Bears' radar. Who's playing in Dayton tonight?
We'll mention it to him and say Mike's waiting for you to put in on the Mammoth bracket madness. So it'll be
He'd probably
good.
win it because he doesn't know anything about it.
Again, that's exactly how it works. Mike, thanks for your help, man. Have fun on the rest of this trip. Get some new underwear.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
there
Mike.
You go, Mike Folta. By the way, coming up here shortly, as always, on the 1280 signal during the March time of year, you can get yourself hooked up with some Westwood One coverage of the NCAA tournament. 1280 right now at 4:30. We're going to fire it up, and you've got yourself some basketball coverage there, courtesy of Westwood One. In the meantime, Bear Turner, yes, he's going to join us next. Stay right here with us. We'll get you ready for the Jazz tonight, and also you've got Mammoth hockey the next two nights on Thursday and Friday, so stay here, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing.
When TV and radio collide.
Love it.
This is what you get. You're listening to JJ and Alex.
Don't touch that dial.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Your exclusive radio home of the Utah Mammoth is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Now it's time to hear from the head coach of the Mammoth, Andre Toruigny.
It's that time of the week for us to be able to dip in with the head coach of the Utah Mammoth, Bear Toruigny, joining us on the program here. Coach and the team, of course, down in Vegas, as they're going to have a back-to-back here coming up tomorrow and on Friday. First things first, you have the Vegas Golden Knights. Coach, thanks for being on with the program here with us.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
We heard tale that there may or may not have been some travel issues. Are you going to be wearing the same suit and tie to this game, and then try to just pawn it off as they were my good luck? They were my good luck charms in Dallas, since we're going to keep it going.
Let's do that. For sure, the fact we won will help. Will help to deal with it. But it is what it is. We had a little bump on the road, but we're all good. Though we're not in trouble. Our director of traveling, our team service, Griff, did a really good job. We were in good hotel in Dallas. We had to stay in Dallas overnight and travel to Vegas yesterday. So we're all good. Don't worry, we're not in trouble.
Oh, that's good.
Coach, what a great win that was. I'm sure it was worth it, whatever you had to do to enjoy that win. And, you looked at the circumstances, and you had lost 4 straight games, and you're heading to Dallas, a team with a 15-game point streak who's playing better hockey than anybody in the league. For you guys to perform that well, how important was that to not only get the win, but to win the way you did?
I think you're bang on. I think to win the way we did, that's the key on that. I think, Dallas was on the record streak. They had 15 game with point streak. So we arrived there. They had good moment in the game, but we weathered the storm. The guys stayed with it. Never felt panic. Never felt we're out of control, and we stayed with it. We played well, and we found a way to get good goal, opportunistic at the right time. So was really proud of the boys. Really proud of the reaction.
You see guys like Kyler Yamamoto coming out and getting a massive goal, that deke that he had on that breakaway, getting pulled down from behind, popping right back up, and that move was just phenomenal. What have guys like Kyler Yamamoto meant to the team? Like that's a guy who you look at and you go, he'll be key in that win against Dallas. He's been awesome, and yet at the same time, it was 13 games since he scored his last goal, but those are the types of things you need to get from everybody to beat a team like Dallas, down there in Dallas especially.
Absolutely, and when you want to perform, the reason why, one of the reasons why we believe we're a good team, because we know we have that depth. We know we have a lot of guys who can contribute. It's not always by points. It can be sometimes by changing momentum, a body check, or a big block shot, shutting down an opponent, or so on and so forth. There's many ways you can contribute in a team, but Yami, since the start of the season, has been a guy who always spark the line he's on. So whoever we put Yami with, there's always a spark. There's always a good performance. So he did a really good job again. And since he's with Kirry and Stanny, and last game Stanny could not play. So Turbo win in that line with Kirry, and they scored a big goal like you mentioned, and they played a solid game. So we're really happy and really lucky to have him on our side.
Vitek Vanacek was fantastic, and he's been fantastic ever since you guys came back from this break. He doesn't get many opportunities, but he's been terrific when he's been called upon. What is I don't want to say something's different with him, but why has he stepped up, and what has been the difference for him in being ready to go when he's been called upon here?
I think we often we talk about him as a good pro, as a good veteran, as a guy who's been around. And that when you have a backup who have experience, it's a tough job to be a backup, because, like you mentioned, you don't have regular start, and sometimes if you have a bad game, you will be probably 2 weeks without playing. So now you need to sit on that performance for 2 weeks, so it can be challenging mentally. But I think V did a really good job since the start of the season to prepare himself, compete every day, smile every day, show up at the rink, ready to work. So he's loved by his teammate. He inspire everybody. Your confidence. You know, he did whatever he had to do to be ready for his game. So we're all very, very happy to see him perform the way he does.
You guys tomorrow, of course, facing off against a regional rival here, although they're not in the same division, but it certainly is always one of those that we here locally keep an eye on because so many people, when this was the only team semi-close, a lot of folks jumped onto that Vegas bandwagon, and they were good very, very quickly. What has the history of you guys taking on Vegas meant, and what does this team present? They have basically the same amount of points as you guys. It's a very, very almost right there, but they could also be a potential matchup in the playoffs against you. Do you guys look at those sorts of things, and what is it to play Vegas down in Vegas for you guys?
Well, one thing at a time. We're not looking at what can happen if the playoff and so on and so forth. I think it's really important we stay on the job, we stay on ball, we stay focused on the present. We're not looking at what can happen in whatever, a week, 2 weeks, and so on and so forth. So that is first. Two, Vegas is a really good, strong physically. They're mature in their decision with and without the puck. They can hurt you by many ways. If it's a kind of a team who they need just a split second, just a rush, or just a no-zone play where they will hold on puck and make that key play. So and defensively, they're heavy. It's tough to get inside. They are really good in their body position, and they're physical in their battles. So they're a good team. So the thing I just mentioned are normal when you play against a good team. Team will be doing that. So for us, will be to have the same maturity than we had against Dallas. We were really mature. We're consistent in our game, and I think we did a really good job and to stay with it and to be opportunistic.
Another moment in that Dallas game I wanted to ask you about is in the first period, you guys fall behind 1-0, and it feels like Dallas has all the momentum, and all of a sudden Brandon Tanev throws gloves. Jack McBain then gets in a fight, and it felt like the whole game changed. Is there an art or a strategy to when to do that can help a team? Because obviously you guys really got a spark from that and took over the game from there.
I totally agree with you. I think ideally when you're down or when you don't have the momentum, those are perfect timing, but don't forget, you need to be two to dance. It's the same thing for the opponent. When they have the lead and when they're doing good, they don't want to get in those normally. So we got going a little bit after those fights, no doubt about it. And that's a little bit where we were talking earlier about producing and stuff like that. There's other way you can help the team. You talk about Turbo, was not in the lineup for a few games. Then he arrived, he got that scrap, get us going a little bit, get a few good body checks. So that's great when you have that kind of a depth and you have guys like Turbo, and you talk about Yami. Boehner has a big goal as well in that game. Karks has a big goal. So you get production, or you get contribution, or you get the fight, the body check from everywhere around in the lineup. That'll help a lot.
As you watch this team mature, and you're on the bench helping these guys out night in and night out, what's the thing you've seen about your guys this year that you're like, you know what, we didn't see that last year?
Wow, that's a good question. I think there's what we were able to stay away from is stretch of bad game. I think last year when at some point where we had a stretch where things were not going well, it took a little bit longer to get back on track. And the other way around is when we had stretch where things were going well, we could not extend those stretch for long enough. But this year, if you look, we had a stretch early in the season where we win 8 out of 9, and we had another stretch in January where we win 11 out of 13 or 14 games, something like that. So that we were able to extend those period of success. I think that was we were talking about maturity, we were talking about mental toughness, we're talking about being capable of bouncing back if things were not going well. So I think the boys did a really good job to do that.
Coach, I know you're busy, but did you take a break and fill out your bracket?
Mike Folta.
No.
Folta is he's gonna ask for that $20 and see if you can get involved in the bracket here. You know he's gonna do it.
I'm better to just give the 20 because I have no chance.
Coach, those are the guys that win the brackets.
Yeah,
the ones that don't know anything about college basketball.
My 3-year-old daughter ends up winning our family.
That's easy
poll,
money
so
for you,
fine.
Coach.
Why not? Why not?
You've got other things to worry about, Coach. So we appreciate you taking some time there. Coach Bear Toruigny, he's the head coach of the Utah Mammoth. Vegas tomorrow in Vegas. We appreciate you joining us as usual, Coach. We know you have a busy schedule. Hang in there, and thanks for being a part of the program every week.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me. All the best in your bracket.
There you go.
Thanks, Coach. We'll need it.
Well, we'll beat Mike Folta for sure. Jeez.
Yeah, I'm not going to lose that guy.
Bear's as good as it gets. It's interesting to see him kind of grow up during all this, too. I say grow up. Like, he's maturing. No, what I'm saying is like, you brought it up. This is a guy who hasn't coached as a head coach in the playoffs before.
Yeah.
This guy's coached a lot of hockey at all the levels, and he's played a lot of hockey, and he knows what it takes. And yet, at the same time, everybody, including Bear, is learning this is the way that you play to win playoff hockey or to make the playoffs for playoff hockey. And it's interesting to watch. I saw Travis Yost, our buddy who comes on periodically and writes for TSN. He posted this on his Twitter page. He said, or what do we call it? X. He said, look, not something being talked about enough. Increasingly likely that the Utah Mammoth are going to finish fourth in their division, and they will cross over to play a, quote, Pacific Division winner who finished behind them in the standings. Yes, it will be on the road, but fix this ridiculous format. And I thought, that is a complaint. You should have that complaint, right? You look at it and you go, are the Mammoth a wild card team, or are they just better than everybody else in the Pacific Division, who right now they have more points than, right? I mean, they have a better record than Anaheim, Vegas, and Edmonton, who are all the top three leading teams in the Pacific Division.
With a win on Thursday, and if the Oilers and Ducks do not win their next game, the Mammoth would be ahead of all of them in points with 78 and have the fourth best record in the Western Conference, which if you went by a normal format, based on just seeding 1 through 8 based on record, then the Mammoth, if they were in that fourth position, would host a playoff series at home against one of those teams instead of being on the road.
But, ask the NFL. They don't know what to do with themselves either. It's like, hey, you have this team who's a division.
Well, we keep trying to make divisions
winner.
matter.
They don't.
The NBA even did it too.
Oh my gosh!
Remember when the Jazz would win the Midwest Division, but they'd be the 5th seed, but they would be seeded 4th. And remember those Rockets series?
Yes.
But the Rockets would have the home court advantage because they had the better record.
You'd have a 7-9 team in the NFL, or now the 8-9 team.
The
going
NFC South division winner.
Right, would play
Carolina Panthers.
Would play a wild card team who are the 11 or 12 win, LA Rams who are going to smoke them, and we all know it. But they're a road team in the first week. I mean, the Rams went and played who? The Panthers week 1 out of their place? Freaking joke.
It was kind of a joke.
And that's what this sort of feels like. What I'm saying is the Panthers in this scenario are the Anaheim Ducks.
I shouldn't take the Ducks lightly, but I'm like, they have a -10 goal differential, and they have the fourth best.
They're leading the freaking division. Get out of here.
Feels a little bit fool's gold with that team. I know they got some good young players, but
sure. All right.
If the Mammoths should salivate over a Ducks first-round matchup.
All right, we'll take a break here. We'll come back. We'll get you ready for Jazz basketball coming up at 5 o'clock. Before we do, the KSL Sports Zone on Thursday at Kenny J's Barbecue, right there in South Jordan at the Megaplex there at the District. 10 to 3, they're going to be there getting you ready for brackets and tournaments and all of that. You get 10% off of your meal when you come in to watch NCAA basketball at Kenny J's tomorrow there in South Jordan. Take a break. We'll come back. More to go. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and
the biggest name.
You're locked into JJ and Alex. With the insight and analysis on the teams you can't live without. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The KSL Sports Zone Bracket Mayhem is here. All you have to do is go over to KSLSports.com and get yourself signed up for the KSL Sports Bracket Mayhem. Make those picks today. Shot at $1 million for a perfect bracket. You can also have the best bracket and get yourself $1,000 and $500 if you beat DJ. You get entered to win that. It's all powered by Omada Real Estate. Jazz Timberwolves tonight. Pregame coming up right here. JJ, how's this one work out here in Minnesota?
Jazz get a big boost in their lottery odds.
Huh? Big boost.
Big boost.
For the loss.
Yep.
Okay.
Book it.
Ace Bailey's back, and you're going to see, of course, a lot of the former Jazzmen who are on that Minnesota Timberwolves roster as well. All right. For our producer, Alex Naples, and JJ, I'm Alex. See you tomorrow, everybody. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.